Welcome traders. In this video we're going to go over a very simple strategy that I created in a very short amount of time, and just with a minimal amount of testing using BloodHound was able to come up with some pretty good percentage numbers as far as a win to loss ratio. So what we're looking at here is a simple 300 tick chart with tick replay engaged, the zigzag ZTP set to 2.5, the delta divergence set to reconstruct tape, 25 minimum, 2.5 for price deviation, deviation contracts of 150, and 3 for the key points. Make sure that you check the keep non-divergent, and you want to show the price plots and the key point data. For special divergence, make sure that reconstruct tape and a minimum filter of 10, a smaller price deviation value of 2, and a deviation contracts of 1. What I've done is I have gone and created a 3 range and a 2 range volumetric set of options down here, and this is new to the logic, and the logic itself is pretty simple. The logic that I ended up working with was a 2 range volumetric chart. I want to see a volumetric exhaustion pattern, a order flow ratio, or a ZTP order flow. Any one of those three will give me a signal to trade. I've included a time block from the original logic, and that's what gives us our result. In all, this is a very simple logic board to construct and took me literally about 3 minutes. Now what I did originally is I created a logic board that had a 3 range order flow signal and then tested that, and those results were pretty good. The 3 range result had about 138 trades, and it traded at about a 70% win rate. And this is really the point of the video right here, and I'm going to keep it short. I'm not going to show every trade, but the point of the video is I then changed to the 2 range, and it literally took me just 20 minutes to go back through the chart, and it was 30 days of trades, and I saw that there were some trades that were not taken and some additional trades that would have been taken. And for the overall result, it came up with basically a 1 percentage point better rate of trading. Now the 1 percentage rate really isn't the big deal here. You basically won 2 more trades than you lost in the first version of this idea. The reason that it was important is that by using a 2 range rather than a 3 range, you're going to be getting into that trade 1 tick earlier, and thus that gives you a better stop or a closer stop that you can use. So again, my definition of a win in this case is simply that we form a new zigzag. My definition of a loss was about 2 points. Now, what was really neat to see is that most of the times we didn't have to use the entire 2 points, and a lot of times we could get out with just a 4 or 5 tick loss. When you look at the system in total, by moving the range bar that we're looking at from a 3 range to a 2 range, you're basically saving yourself over $1,000 if you were using this strategy. When you do the numbers, the strategy itself was very profitable. Now, this is not a complete strategy, and I want to emphasize that. The definition of a win is a new zigzag. Now, what you're going to have to do if you wanted to trade that strategy is define that a little bit better as to where you take your profit at. The other thing I didn't look at was if you had multiple entries, and I wanted to illustrate that here. The one thing that I saw that created a losing trade is when we have a very long drawn out move as we have right here. Now, what this strategy is going to do is if we had the absorption signal here, well, we would have had to get into that trade at this price level right here, and then price would have traded higher on this move up and eventually into the winning trade. What we like to see better is a short snapback move like we have right here, or a short snapback move like we have right here. Those trades seem to work a whole lot better, and when you're getting that, you're getting this move directly from one zone to another, and then you're receiving the signal. But as you can see from this chart, the price was in a very strong trend that was bearish, and then traded all the way into a broken reversal pattern here. What we don't want to see is we don't want to be trading in a reversal situation where we have a strong trend going in the opposite direction. My definition of a strong trend is at least 6 or 7 points. So 7 points puts that price here way before we would be receiving any strong trend warning. So that is a factor that needs to be considered. And again, I saw this on multiple instances where we'd created at least a 7-point strong trend, and then price gradually moved against the original signals that would be occurring here. So that would be something that an individual trader would need to look at and figure out a plan for. It would probably be very easy to create a filter for BloodHound that would filter out a pattern if it occurred after a strong trend rotation. So in conclusion, the purpose of this video was to demonstrate just how easy it is to get a winning strategy, in this case 71%, but to be able to change and prototype the indicator so that we can get a better signal and a more relevant signal out of this. In doing so, we took our original strategy, which probably would have given us about $6,000 to $6,500 in profit over a 30-day period. We added another $1,500 in profit by doing a very quick test and testing a lower range volumetric bar with the system. At the end of the day, this is the purpose of BloodHound, to be able to quickly design and test your ideas. And in this case, the test was successful in showing us that this type of pattern was very profitable. The reason that I had the delta strength on the chart earlier is also because I wanted to illustrate the point that in the winning trades that we had, we wanted to see those individual large lot traders come in. That was very important to the success of most of these trades. So you were trading in real time, you would be looking for something like that. To illustrate this on a live chart with a live trade, this morning I took this accumulation signal right here after getting the entry signal here. The problem with this trade is that the previous day I had disabled a chase feature that I was playing with and saved that template, but when I went to trade today, for some reason that chase feature was still enabled. So instead of getting my limit order price that I wanted back here about 2 ticks lower, I was filled at 17.75. Once I was in the trade, I then used the blue counter trend zone as my target and took profit here at 30.20. So all in all, a very good trade. And here are a couple trades that I took on the previous day, which was the 25th of July. We had a distribution pattern here, and I was able to get in 2 ticks from the high here and then took profit there. I entered a second distribution trade here, and when price traded up higher after the entry, I didn't like how the numbers were responding, and the ratio had been getting lower as we got higher. So that gave me a little bit of cause for concern, and unfortunately I pulled the trade a little bit earlier, but I was not comfortable in the trade, so ended up taking that off the board. The real mistake was not taking this reversal trade here after we'd come and traded through this intermediate support zone. And as you can see, we had real high ratios every time we got up here. The first being 146. The second, where I took the trade, it eventually ended up at 152. And then we had a 218 right here. Down below, we can see that we only had a negative 13, a negative 72, and we did find some support down here with a 154, but as price traded higher, you can see that the 218 was significantly stronger, and that led to a 9-point sell-off from this resistance zone right here. So just a couple of trade ideas to throw out. Okay, I wanted to illustrate one more trade that I took today. Just as I started editing the video, I saw this trade come up, so I wanted to take it and then illustrate it. On a smaller time frame chart, the 150 tick chart, which has a zigzag of 6, we had this accumulation signal develop, and you can see back here that we had a very strong density number here, followed again by a trend trade, again with a very strong density number, and this density number was in the 200s when I took this trade right here. I didn't wait for order flow to develop. I took it based upon the accumulation and this high number. After I took the trade, we see that it traded down 3 ticks. I'd given this a 5-tick stop. My stop was sitting here at 17.25. And as you may know, what happens is when price equals the previous low, that becomes non-divergent as far as the accumulation goes. However, the ratio number, the density number down here, was telling me that there was some significant accumulation along with the accumulation that's going on right here in real time. So I was comfortable in staying with this trade, and as you can see, my target was right here. And I've previously talked about a statistic that says when you're in a trade, you have a 50% probability that price will trade to a blue zone and not trade through it. So while I had just set a target here and was happy to take profit and get the target, you can see that if I had placed it 2 ticks higher, short, just 1 tick short of the zone, I probably would have gotten filled on that one also. 100 contracts had traded at that price, but again, it just shows how important it is that you develop statistics. And again, this would be a very easy statistic to develop using BloodHound or just the zones by themselves. And the way you would do that would be creating a template that gets you into a trade here 2 ticks away from the zone, and then running a performance report on that. That will tell you how many times you got filled 2 ticks, and then you could see how much your adverse excursion was on trades that had gone through the zone and after you'd been filled at 2 ticks. And again, just want to illustrate that using the zones with the tools, we can see that there was some really heavy buying going on right here. So I had felt very confident through this entire trade. And you can see why the ZoneTraderPro tools are so handy. So hope you've enjoyed this little tidbit and live trade example. Thanks for watching.